Tapping in.
Are we live?
We bike again.
We're back, man. We're back. Still live. Don't forget, man, this is a live show. That means that comments and whatever will be read live onto the show. So feel free to jump into these conversations. We always say that this is nothing more than a space of friends, family, a space of community. You know what I'm saying? Fostering conversations that engage people. So do engage. Make sure you engage.
Yes, sir. Like, comment, man. Please tell us what you want us to recommend, a review. You know what I'm saying? We would love to have that type of engagement with y'all. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, so we can improve the show, keep delivering you, dishing out all of this delicious content.
Mr. Miles Xavier, you are notoriously Chicago. You rep Chicago deep. You're a Chicago native. You do a lot of incredible work out in Chicago. So over the week, as I was hearing the news of the school shootings that happened in Chicago, especially at the University of Chicago, which is where you work as the director of violence against youth preventions in the University of Chicago. Go ahead and tell them what you do.
I appreciate you. So, yeah, man. So I am the project manager at the Chicago Center for Youth Violence Prevention at the University of Chicago.
Big flex. You see what my boy doing?
Nah, big humble, man. Big, like just thankful and grateful to be able to work in community and with community. But the flip side of that is always when stuff happens, any type of violence, whether it's within the university community or within the Chicago, the South Side, West Side community, wherever it's at, it always hits like especially hard with when my professional life is in prevention. So what had happened was that, and it's been a crazy, man, like a hectic, heavy week of just extremes, right? We started off the week with some really dope opportunities to meet with some folks pretty high up in the government. I don't know if I'm allowed to disclose, so I'll play it real safe. But we got to talk to some federal government folks about really getting into funding, about making sustainable change, about capitalizing on the time that we have left within the Biden administration to really get some program dollars into the hands of people who are really about making an impact on the ground, like my brother here and like I aspire to. And so we're in these meetings like literally Monday, Tuesday, and then Tuesday after we have this dope meeting, right? I actually got to meet Congressman Bobby Rush, who founded the Illinois Black Panther Party. That was fire. That was an honor for me. Yeah. So that's like the highlight of my week. I'm like, wow, look at the type of room that I've been blessed to be able to be in, to the people that I get to learn from and try and apply that knowledge. And then we hear about a shooting that happened on campus, right? By somebody. Go ahead.
Not to cut you, but before you get even into the shootings, right, that happened on campus, what are those meetings and those rooms like, right? We're all young, right? And you're sitting here with these prominent government heads speaking about impact, speaking about community work. What do those meetings look like? What do they feel like? You know?
I'm a sponge in those rooms, man. I try to be to soak up all the different perspectives, to soak up. It's an incredible learning opportunity for me, often being one of the younger people that's in those rooms. But I don't want to over romanticize it, right? Because there's a lot of meetings that happen in boardrooms. There's a lot of pictures that get taken and then stuff doesn't happen, right? So I want to always be clear that like the real beautiful things happen are on the ground, are happening with people staying up in offices, writing grants, you know what I'm saying, putting together data to show that programs are effective. The boardrooms are really dope opportunities to hear, hopefully, if you're in a space where people are being honest, right? And it's not just you're meeting and I'm meeting so that we can say we've met, right? But if people are really coming together to try and foster change, then being in those meetings is really dope, man. It's the the University of Chicago has a very complicated history with the South Side community, but as of my time being there, from what I've been able to be a part of, right, in a very small section of the university, so I can't speak for the entire institution, but I've been able to be a part of a team that's collaborating with organization leaders that are community entrenched, people from the community, and lifting up their work, taking university resources and putting it behind people that are doing restorative justice type of work, people that are doing trauma informed care for folks that have been victims of penetrating violent injury, right? So connecting folks that have been violently injured to resources, opportunities to maybe not have to go back to the same neighborhoods they've been in, educational opportunities for kids that are in neighborhoods where there's not enough programming for the most placed at risk youth, or for families in general. So I get to be a part of a team of amazing, like a coalition and that's building capacity both for individual organizations, but between these organizations. And that's been a beautiful thing, but it's not a common thing. And not all of our neighborhoods, we're focused in the greater Bronzeville area with our prevention coalition right now. And we're trying to build that infrastructure in places like South Shore and places like Inglewood and places like Auburn, Gresham, where there's a lot of violence as well. But it's bittersweet. I'm a part of something amazing, but we need to make it bigger and to expand the impact.
I mean, the biggest challenge that comes into expanding impact, it seems that it's going to balance between the resources that you have and then the support that you have. Resources comes in the form of monetary resources that you have, the cash that you have in order to be able to help people. And then on the organization side, it's like you need to get the buy-in from the community. The community should be wanting to help as well. You know, the people that are ancillary, people that might not even get paid to help, join in to help as well. That seems to be like the two biggest the two biggest complementaries towards being able to do some serious impact. But when, you know, from the outsider looking in at these Chicago shootings, it's like it's such a common story that Chicagoans are shooting each other, especially in these areas. And if you're unfamiliar with where the University of Chicago is, it's in the south side of Chicago, right? Very close, located quite close towards the South Shore area, going down from that Hyde Park into at least within that Hyde Park area, starting to move deeper down into the south of Chicago. A simple mind would say, just get rid of all the guns in the U.S. Just get rid of all the guns, dude. Like that. That's what the international rhetoric is regarding how to solve the issue of gun violence in the U.S. Just get rid of the guns, is what they say.
Yeah, and I mean, to a certain extent, right? I think that's a viable conversation, right? That's a very valid conversation. And there's levels to that, right? There's getting rid of all the guns. There's getting rid of these assault style weapons that have been a part of what have been considered mass shootings. And I think it's complicated, right? We start to get into what does it mean to have gun control for people that are citizens in a country where that's one of the rights, that's a part of the Constitution, and what does it mean to create gun control for criminals, right? Who might not be abiding by whatever new legislation you put in place. So I think that's a complicated conversation. But I want to go back to really quickly, though. I appreciate you kind of highlighting, kind of situating the university geographically. Hyde Park, the community that the university is in, is like the gateway to like the greater South Side, right? There's Bronzeville, which is like this really incredible historically Black community. If we're talking about going south from like 35th Street to 47th Street. And then there's Hyde Park, which is kind of like the last like really affluent, big, it's got almost like its own downtown area before you get to like the greater South Side, right? And it's because it's so close to the greater South Side, they face a lot of the same challenges in terms of violence, but the university police force is a huge part of creating this boundary around Hyde Park. And when stuff happens in Hyde Park, it's treated differently than when it happens in the rest of the South Side. So I just felt like that was important context.
It is important context because it's, once you understand, like, you know, the crazy thing that's happening in Chicago right now is all the terrible things that are happening in the city are not very far away from the best parts of the city, right? There's been systemic redlining and systemic disenfranchising of Black and brown people into particular communities, and how they're even policed going into that area is specifically different. That's why I tell a lot of people, especially as someone who spends a lot of time in the South Side of Chicago, and within that community, is to say, people, man, being Black in America is in my opinion, Miles, my humble opinion, it is, America is the most difficult place to be a Black man, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. Although y'all been having wild power cuts, so no internet, no lights, no Wi-Fi, like on the SA side. So it gets deep for everybody. I don't know. I don't know if I'll rather be hearing gunshots but still be able to turn Netflix up, or be sitting in the dark but ain't nothing going outside. I don't know. Checks and balances, right? But yeah, going back to the gun conversation. So first of all, man, just kind of completing the loop on the story that we started, right? So great day of meetings starting out this week. Couple of days, like, really encouraging work. And then there were 2 shootings on the same day on Tuesday, one in which a university student was killed, another one in which no one was shot, but a couple of businesses that are close to campus within this like Hyde Park bubble had windows shot out. And it's just it is, in a sense, it feels like a leakage of violence into a space where that violence doesn't typically put at risk the university community. And I think there's a lot of conversations here, including, why do we care so much more when it happens where it's not supposed to? Even though we should know in our hearts as humans that this type of stuff it shouldn't be allowed to go on anywhere.
Yeah, and I think off of that, right, that comes from the fact that the gentleman that was killed was a young Asian man, 24-year-old Asian man and that's who got killed. And so naturally, the attention of where media goes to is going to differ between the attention that this gentleman who gets killed gets. But on that same breath, Miles, I think that speaks towards, at times, especially in an instance like this, what allows for, when you have a bunch of Black people who are killing each other in the South Side of Chicago, and you have a bunch of people of color who are killing each other, that's such regular occurrence. So the necessity for the news to be able to stick on it loses its shock value. It uses its line ticketer value. In truth, we should care about everybody that's getting killed in these places, but when an Asian person gets killed, naturally that's going to stand out because that's not something that occurs all the time. Now, it gets controversial, right? Like we saw in instances where Gabby Petito in the US, a white lady that got kidnapped, how that was received, kidnapped and later found dead, how that was received. And when the statistics came out that, in fact, tens of thousands of Black women go missing and get kidnapped in the US, tens of thousands of Latinx women get kidnapped and murdered every year, but that attention doesn't shine on there. Right. Yeah. So it's kind of peculiar in terms of like, there should always be light shined on death, but it feels sometimes unfair when we see different attention going into different groups.
Yeah. And I love the context that you brought with all these different comparisons, right? Especially like the women of color and Indigenous and Native American women that were going missing in the same space that Gabby Petito did, right? And so there's definitely a conversation to have about news coverage, but I think there's also a conversation to be had about so from the university perspective versus like the South Side perspective. When somebody got, unfortunately, man, like, again, RIP to Dennis, who was shot on the university campus, we immediately go to, what was his major? Let's commemorate what he did, what he was trying to do with his life, right? How I actually found out about it was there was this email blast sent by the university security that was informing of us of the incident and what had happened, without giving too many details that we later found out. And it was just representative of this system of care, right? So less about the news coverage, but more about when somebody gets shot on the South Side, why aren't institutions making sure that the community has a system to know what's going on? You know what I'm saying? If I'm on the block and I know that somebody down the street got shot, I want to be able to check up on my neighbors who are here. Now, I can do that. I can call them and I can text them, but that's a system of community that I'm creating, rather than this institution that's an anchor of the community saying you get an email and you get an email and everybody gets an email so that everybody knows what's going on, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's have some of our government and some of our institutions create those networks of safety within our communities, right? That's one. Also, to the point of lifting up his major, that's what we should do. I'm not saying we should ignore or downplay or like how this person was lifted up. I'm saying don't, when a black person gets shot, try and figure out all the reasons why that's okay. What gang was he in? What is his history like? Did he finish high school? You know what I'm saying? What picture are we going to go get of this person? You know what I'm saying? And post, right? How are we describing them, right? And how are we describing them plays into a lot of other things. We can get into the Kyle Rittenhouse joint, right? Where they're not allowing the people he shot to be called victims. It's a lot about the narrative. It's a lot about framing. And so I'm just saying, if we gonna lift up people and we're gonna look to shine light on people that passed in an unfortunate way, let's keep that energy across the board.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree, man. I totally agree. Listen, there's a whole lot more show for us to be able to get into. There's a whole lot more content for us to be able to get into. Thank you, Brother Miles, for being so diligent in your commitment towards your community, being an inspiration, not just to myself, not just to the people that you work with, but as a example of what it looks like to take community help to the highest organizational levels. We thank you for that. We commend you for that. And we appreciate you breaking down this story quite at length.